Good afternoon, and thank you for attending this Artsyl Technologies webinar. Today we'll be talking about SimpleCapture's integration with QuickBooks. My name is Jeff Moore. I'm the VP of Sales for Artsyl Technologies. Today I'll be your presenter along with Gary Gasparian, our lead support engineer. Gary will be doing the technical demo of SimpleCapture with QuickBooks. Today we'll be talking about the challenges within the accounts payable, accounts receivable department and document processing within that department. We'll talk about the solution to that problem. We'll cover the integration with QuickBooks, some document processing steps available with SimpleCapture. Then we'll go to the live demo. We'll finish up with key features and benefits of SimpleCapture, as well as the benefit or ROI of SimpleCapture, and we'll conclude with questions. All right, in today's accounts payable and accounts receivable departments, you have a lot of challenges. Many of you have seen this slide before, but essentially the AP/AR department is typically a very inefficient department. Typically invoices and accounts receivable documentation such as purchase orders, sales orders, etc., come in and have to find their way through the organization, be validated. So there's a lot of sort of personnel time that's wasted handling all of this paper. In certain transactions like accounts payable with processing invoices, there's a lost revenue source that's often associated with late payments, the inability to utilize early payment discounts because it takes too long to process your invoices. So there are a lot of issues, control, compliance, so on and so forth. And these are all typically because the process is very manual in nature. And what we're going to talk about is how to improve the processing of these documents, how to speed the processing of these documents through the process to interject new efficiencies into the department, the accounting department. As you probably know, invoice processing is very costly. Aberdeen did a study a few years ago that found that in the very best AP departments, the cost of processing a single invoice was $1. And in the very worst environments, it was as much as $80. Now, of course, I treat this like a bell curve, and those are the extremes. The vast majority, probably 90% of the organizations, fall between the top 25% and the lower 25%, so somewhere around $3 to $34 per invoice. So the median cost of processing an invoice is $11. So what you can see is that an organization processing even a few invoices per month, 50, 100, can have a very large cost of invoice processing over the course of a year. And when you start to get into thousands of invoices or tens of thousands of invoices, this cost can be absolutely enormous. So if you look at the general process of accounts payable, you'll find it to be an incredibly manual process. As I said, typically organizations receive paper-based invoices through the mail. Some receive emails, some through EDI. But typically there's a manual process of sorting these invoices, sending them to the right AP clerk if there's multiple clerks, and then typically there's some type of date stamping, general ledger code process, assigning a GL code to each invoice before it moves to the next phase where you're actually paying the invoice. The data is keyed into the accounting or ERP system. It's matched perhaps against POs if you're using a PO-based system. And then any errors are identified and potentially corrected or investigated. And at that point, typically you get a check in a check run. Now, that's not the end of the process. Typically, there's an entire back-end process where you're filing the invoices for future reference, okay? And so whether it be into a 5-drawer file cabinet right behind you or down the hall, or sent to long-term storage like an Iron Mountain, there is a physical process of creating a folder for that vendor, perhaps, inserting that invoice and filing that document away. Now, obviously, at some point, if you have had a discrepancy with that invoice and you short pay your vendor, then the vendor is likely to have a question that will generate a call back to you. Your department has to go retrieve that invoice. So you have, again, a very manual process around accounts payable and accounts receivable processes. How do we change that? Well, with a product like SimpleCapture, most of these steps can be completely automated. And so what we're going to be presenting is how we can automate those documents in the accounting department, whether it's accounts payable invoices or accounts receivable POs, sales orders, etc., and streamline the process of getting the data into your accounting system, in this case QuickBooks, and your images stored electronically so that they can be more rapidly retrieved, whether it be to a file share or to a back-end document management system. So what I've really just described is the fact that manual capture of data from accounts payable invoices, accounts receivables orders, is very time-consuming and costly. That's the bulk of where you get that $1 to $80 cost of processing an invoice and that median value of $11. So resolving this problem by automating the data capture process, that's really just the first step. The second important step is obviously transferring that data into the target accounting or ERP application, and that's where the integration with QuickBooks comes in. So with SimpleCapture, we can actually automate both steps, capturing the data from your accounts payable or accounts receivable documents and transferring that data directly into QuickBooks through an API, through an application programming interface. This means a fully automated transfer of that data. So it's scanned, automatically extract, automatically entered, thereby eliminating as much as 80 to 90% of the manual effort. SimpleCapture replaces that manual data entry process and transfers the data directly into QuickBooks, as well as stores the image into most popular document management systems. So if you do have SharePoint or Digitech, either Image Silo or another document management system like FileBound, etc., the data will go directly into QuickBooks and the image can be stored directly into your document management system. So what is SimpleCapture? SimpleCapture is a semi-automated solution that will lower your invoice and document processing costs. This can apply to invoices, to purchase orders, to remittances, to checks, or other documents within your organization. And obviously, smaller companies might have an AP department or an accounting department that is also their human resources department. So this can be applied to any structured or semi-structured document, even documents outside of AP or AR. SimpleCapture provides out-of-the-box data capture capabilities without the need for costly integration and extensive labor force training. One of the things you'll see during this demonstration is that SimpleCapture has an incredibly easy and intuitive user interface. It typically takes less than 30 minutes to train an operator on how to use SimpleCapture. And SimpleCapture reduces the time and cost required to process all of your forms or invoices every month, and it is really easy to install and easy to use. Typically, installation takes no more than 20 or 30 minutes. Configuration may take a couple of hours. Much of that may be done off-site prior to arrival. So theoretically, the system can be installed and up and running and operators trained in less than half a day. SimpleCapture provides a very tight integration with QuickBooks. As I mentioned, this is all through APIs, or application programming interfaces. That means that programmatically the two products communicate. With this, you can capture and store to QuickBooks all incoming accounts payable invoices or accounts receivable documents. Invoices, checks, and POs can be processed automatically. You can capture header and footer information for basic invoices or line item detail extraction for more complex PO-based type situations. You can automatically create new vendors, customers, or products and service line items in QuickBooks based on the data we extract from the incoming documents. And you can automatically validate or cross-check and reconcile information that's entered through SimpleCapture with information in your QuickBooks database. So a very tight integration, and basically that's what Gary's going to show you, that all of the information extracted from documents can be pushed directly into QuickBooks, where you're quite familiar with, managing the AP or AR process. So how does it work from start to finish? Well, basically, we want to process images. We want to go ahead and digitize the information coming in. And SimpleCapture can easily integrate all your incoming paper and electronic documents, whether they come from a desktop scanner, a multifunctional printer like a digital copier, from a fax server, from an email account, or we are partnered with many other ISVs that develop applications such as eCopy for MFP integration, or Kodak Capture Pro for desktop scanning. So it doesn't really matter where the information comes in from. We prefer that we process it in a digital format, so we take it in as a TIFF, a PDF, a JPEG, a bitmap, or a PNG. We go ahead and apply the OCR process, and we process it through the system. Now, I mentioned OCR. SimpleCapture allows you to OCR document. Now, before you OCR it, you may want to actually do some image processing. So we have the ability to pre-process images in order to improve the extraction process. We then apply background full-page OCR so that the operator should never be waiting for a document to be OCR'd. They're able to capture the data from a document, and in the background, the next set of documents are being processed by the system. We can utilize multiple CPUs and cores with parallel processing to make sure that the